Welcome to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. In each episode, we're going to bring you insightful interviews and discussions with top restoration industry leaders. We're also going to delve into their business, the strategies that made them successful, and most importantly, the valuable lessons they learned along the way. I'm your host, Clinton James. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer at Water Restoration Marketing. We're a digital marketing agency dedicated to helping restoration companies nationwide secure more high-value water jobs. Now, this show, it aims to provide you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the restoration industry. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And welcome everybody to another episode of the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. I'm your host, Clinton James of Water Restoration Marketing. And boy, do I have a treat for you guys today. It is very rarely that I run across a business and a model that initially confuses me and then excites me, right? So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about a company, but before I do, I want to introduce one of their founders, Rocky Hensley. Rocky is the former owner of Icon Property Rescue and current owner of Plumber. So Rocky, thank you for joining us for the podcast today.
Thank you, Clinton. That was awesome. It's making me look better than I probably am. And just so you know, I stay confused myself most.
So, full transparency, had no idea who you guys were until I went to an RIA event down in Florida, and I see everybody walking around in pink. Now, I'm a guy of decent stature, 6'4", 220, 230 on a bad day. But to see all of these men in a predominantly male-dominated industry, restoration, walking around in pink, caught my eye, right?
Mhm.
So I walked over, took a look at the booth. Plumber is the business name. And I thought to myself, okay, great. A plumbing franchise, and they're selling plumbing franchises as a way to generate more restoration leads for restoration businesses. That makes perfect sense. And then I met Cameron and I met Alvaro. And they explained to me you guys' model. So we're going to talk a little bit about your model and how plugging a Plumber franchise into a successful restoration company can actually improve commercial business. Not residential, more commercial business. But before we do that, let's talk about you and your background. So tell us a little bit, because you're a serial entrepreneur. You didn't start in restoration. How did you stumble into the restoration business?
Well, I built when I sold the restoration business, it was my 12th build and sale. My big win was in 2004. I built a company that was in 3 states and 5 locations to 110 million bucks. I was 38 years old and I sold it for more money than I ever dreamed to. That was my first foray into selling to private equity, and it was freaking awesome. I mean, I didn't have to worry about money for the rest of my life. I mean, it was awesome as long as, things that, 2008, I'm not gonna lie, scared me a little bit with investments and stuff, but like anything else, it came back and it was awesome. So, and then, we don't want to talk too much about the 3 colossal fails that I had, but I learned way more from those 3 failures that I did the 12, build and sells, which they're just not as lucrative, but but from a learning standpoint, I honestly encourage everybody to do it. But that's my thing is I guess I just don't have the fear of failing and trying. And so, fortunately I've succeeded more than I failed.
I love that.
Yeah.
What appealed to the restoration industry to you?
It's a great question. I actually got into the restoration industry right after that sale. I had a 5-year non-compete, as you know, private equity, that's what they do.
Sure.
And I had a local, I don't know if you remember or not, but in the early 2000s, there were 3 children that passed away that died from mold exposure. And I was taught, I had a state senator friend, not a senator in Washington, but the local guy that we play cards with and drink beer with.
Sure.
Was telling me that they were trying to, because I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do. I finally in my life, I can do whatever I want. But what am I going to do? Garden? I'm 38 years old. And he was telling me about this bill they were trying to pass. And he told me, he said these words, I'll never forget it. Mold's going to be gold if this bill passes. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, because every house is going to have to get inspected for mold and they're going to have to do something about it or they can't sell it. So I was like, guess what I'm going to get into? The mold business, And I did that. And we were originally Icon Environmental Group, LLC. And it never went through. The Democrats got voted out, the Republicans got voted in, and now I'm in the mold business. What I realized is mold's good, but it ain't gold. But guess what is? Water damage.
Yeah, water
Yeah.
mitigation. There you go.
Yeah. So, and I had a couple of friends of mine that were in the plumbing business, if you have it. Barry Jolly was one of them, and Jolly Plumbing, which is a fairly big local company. And I was kind of talking to him about it, and he started sending me restoration jobs, and I was giving him referrals. And before you knew it, we were a $3-4 million a year company 2 years later, and rocking and rolling, and that's how I got into it. And then we built that up, and then Roto-Rooter, God love them, they're based in Cincinnati, got into the restoration business. So I moved over to the TPA world. So I went from doing about 4 million and filing taxes on about 1 million in profit. I went to about 7 million and I was making about 250,000.
Oh, you mean you made less money when going through Alacrity or AccuServe or
Yeah.
some of these TPAs? Wow, that's an interesting concept.
It's funny. Keep in mind, though, this was 2013, 12 years ago, where TPAs were just starting to be this new, sparkly, beautiful thing where all you have to do is do a good job and they just, pour business into your lap.
Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way anymore, Rocky.
Well, it was supposed to in 2013. So, and then I realized pretty quick that I'm working way harder, doing way less profitable stuff. And so I went out and bought one 866 plumber. That's why we're One Tom Plumber. The name is the phone number. And I just said, you know what, the heck with it. I'm going to go head to head with Roto-Rooter. And what I realized was how much commercial work we were getting. So the year of our Lord, 2019, January 1st, we cut off all TPAs and we went strictly with the One Tom Plumber business model where we were going to bring in the business from that and go after commercial work and use One Tom Plumber, a plumbing company, to get in the door at at these big property managers, the Cushman Wakefields of the world.
Yeah.
And and so that year we did $750,000 in water, which was, I know you're like, but that was still almost a 500,000 more than we did the year before.
Okay.
Um, Fast forward to 2023, we did over 5 million in water. 80% was commercial, and we did just shy of $8 million.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So now keep in mind about half the phone calls were residential, but they averaged about $4,800, $5,000. But the commercial, we were averaging 29, 30,000 per job, and the $30,000 ones were easier, than a $5,000 in someone's basement, moving their furniture and doing all this stuff. So we just went hard. We stayed focused. We stayed locked in, and and I honestly wasn't trying to sell One Ton Plumber, or the Icon, because I love the business model, and we had a PE company come in and offer me more than I thought it was worth, and I couldn't say no.
I I still it's still wrapping my head around plumbing as a source of commercial. So when I think of a restoration company going out there and chasing commercial business, I think of them hiring some $75,000 a year business development rep, giving them a call or car, giving them a card, and them going and playing golf and taking people out to lunch, trying to cultivate that commercial opportunity.
Well, I just to give you a little credit here, you've got a ton of restoration and business people that you do business with.
Sure.
You've got some of the better restoration companies that you call clients. Okay. So you know that their salespeople are literally going in 10 times. Okay. And they don't know for on sometimes to a year, year and a half until there is an actual water flood, whether they're their customer or not. Okay. They're still taking the tickets, they're still taking the lunches. And then who knows, they could call Belfour or someone else. Well, what we realized pretty quick in part of our business model we were putting together is that if you walk in and say, we do emergency plumbing and service work, and we can be here within 2 to 3 hours, just like if you're a restoration company, guess who they're going to call for their plumbing needs? Ev- yeah, within 1 or 2 visits, you either know they're a customer or they're not a customer. But here's the thing, you walk in, and normally you're dual branded. We walked in with one Tom on one side, Icon on the other.
Yeah.
And the business model is that we use that to get in the door to build the relationship because they need plumbing. They need emergency plumbing. Everybody needs it. Okay. And then once we get in the door with one Tom Plumber, then we switch over and only sell the restoration business, because the reason that most businesses, most plumbing businesses don't have reps is because once they get the business, if they do a good job, it's theirs. So very few plumbing companies have reps, but most don't need it. Even one-time plumber doesn't need it. So that's when we transition over to the restoration side. So we get in the door with one-time plumber, and then we transition into mostly just talking about the restoration business. That's the relationship part. So one-time plumber is a door kicker enter. Okay. And then once you're in the door, you get the restoration business. What we didn't realize is that, one the plumbing business is actually more profitable even than water. So my plumbing, we own 6 of the locations,
Okay.
and, we are twice as big as my restoration business because plumbing's so lucrative.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like I said, we were generating, over 5 million. I think we did my last year, full year in business. I think we did 6 million in water damage. Again, 20% of that was commercial, but I was almost twice as big from a top dollar standpoint and a net standpoint
Yeah.
on the plumbing side. So it wasn't, it became, that's what we were using for, but we didn't realize was how lucrative, because everybody wants to schedule their plumbers out. The reason that emergency service plumbing is so profitable is the same reason that water damage is so profitable. Anytime you can be there right away, you're not negotiating price. You're not giving estimates. It's a set price. You go in, you fix it, and bill them. Now, on the residential side, on the plumbing side, it's just as lucrative because you get paid that day. It's cash flow. So you go do these Cushman Wakefields, yeah, you'll get 2 or 3 a week, okay? But they're not gonna pay you for 60 days. If you go into your house on the plumbing side, which we have a residential division, you walk out that day with cash. And because we only do service and plumbing, service and emergency service, we charge a premium.
I think you bring up a really excellent point. I don't know of outside of some of the larger franchises, I don't know of a plumbing company that intentionally goes out there and hires business development reps. So when you guys show up with your pink plunger, and we'll get into the branding a little bit later, but when you guys show up, it's something that they don't, I mean, they're used to the restoration guy showing up, right?
Yeah.
But they're not used to the plumbing guy showing up there. So
It it's
like,
not lucrative from a plumbing standpoint. Long term, it's not lucrative. If you want to get up and off the ground, sure. But, once you get that account, you keep that account. So plumbing companies would never keep salespeople because they don't need them anymore. So that's why you transition over to the restoration side. In fact, the salespeople are restoration employees.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
and then because that's a relationship you have to maintain in order to get restoration business. The great thing, though, not to oversell this point, most of the phone calls for the water damage would come through One Tom Plumber. The name is our phone number. Sorry, you can't turn the salesman off. That's okay. It's right between me. Always be selling, right? Always be selling. But anyway, and then we would, a lot of times, most of the time, I would say, and I'm guessing here, at least 7 out of 10, the plumbing company would dispatch our guys directly for the water damage. Because then they would structure it. Because how many times have your restoration guys waited for a plumber to show up before they could do any work?
got to.
So we would train our dispatchers to coordinate our guys, when our guys were going to be there, when they were going to be done, and then to bring the restoration literally right there seamlessly. waiting for us.
And this is the exact same model that you teach your franchisees to go in and execute something that you have already been doing for years and made very, very successful. So I like a franchisor that has experience in the space and has a repeatable, scalable business model, right?
Yeah, and our business model, I mean, I tell everybody, we tell every franchise, we're not a plumbing company. We're a systems and sales organization that does plumbing, drains, and digs. Okay. It's about making the phone ring, not only for to do plumbing, drains, and digs, but also for your restoration company.
Makes
And, yeah. And we've got very low um rates, I guess you could say, or royalties.
yeah.
And I always tell people you might as well cut that in half, because if you're not doubling what you're getting in water damage for free, because we're not tied into the restoration piece. So any water damage we create, there's no generation cost.
Wow. Okay, I was
Yeah,
gonna ask you a little bit more
it's
about
a
how
win-win.
the pricing structure. Before we get into that though, you owned Icon Property Rescue for 20 years. 2021, uh, you decided to start your first franchise for One
Yeah,
Tom Plumber. So you've been franchising now for 4 going on 5 years?
4.5 years. We started March 3rd of the year of our Lord 2021, and that's when we started selling, and we do wanna know what we're up to.
I literally, that's my next.
Kind of brag-worthy moment, but we just signed our 96th, and I was telling you we're flying out to Washington State, where we've got 3 lined up that we're gonna sign back to back to back, and then, hopefully, knock on wood, Atlanta is, number 100.
Okay, well, if Atlanta's listening, they better jump on it before somebody else does, right?
Yeah. So we call it, island to island, because we got one in Oahu that just opened up,
Nice.
and we got one in Long Island. So we're island to island, and then, we just opened up Toronto. So we're technically an international company now. So we're feeling pretty good in 4.5 years what we've got done.
What role do you think the branding that you have created for One Tom Plumber plays in the success of the business? Because let's be honest, you don't see a lot of hot pink in
Yep.
the restoration or even plumbing space.
Yeah. Well, no one's asked me that. And this is probably my 20th podcast. No one's actually asked me that. That's a great question, because it plays into a lot. We spent 2 years. I put this together starting in 2016. The great thing that we have is Cincinnati's probably the second largest branding capital in the world, because Procter and Gamble, SC Johnson Wax, Procter and Gamble's Tide, Dawn, Pampers, Loves, y- um, Old Spice. I mean, that's all they do is Crest. All they do is brand stuff, and then they've got these sub companies that they hire that help them brand these, and they move them around because they always want to be fresh. Well, we were able, because it was a little downturn in the economy in 2016, to literally jump on with the same people that branded Tide, Loves, and Dawn. So the same people that were putting those brands together for the 11th largest company in the world were helping us brand One Tom Plumber.
Okay.
And what we realized was that 83% of all plumbing calls are female based. So guess who our customer is? Whether it's a
Valid.
property manager
Yeah.
or a housewife.
Yeah.
So guess who we're gonna try and sell to? Not n- not the restoration owner, who's usually a guy like me.
Sure.
It's the customer that's gonna call the plumbing company, and that's what they taught me. And we were 1-866 plumber. Well, they transitioned us to One Tom Plumber. The name is the phone number, because it was too hard to brand 1-866 plumber, because people couldn't distinguish it between 855, 844, 1-800. Where One Tom Plumber, you hear it all the time. They're like, that's the stupidest name I've ever heard, but I remembered it, and that's why I called you. And and in branding, as you know, it's all impressions. Well, it was labor when we were doing 1-866 plumber, and anyone out there listening, impressions means how many times do you have to hear it, see it, or think it before it becomes your brand.
Right.
And 1-866 was 37, and the average, I think, was 26 at the time.
Yeah.
And One Tom Plumber, the name as the phone number, was 4.
Wow.
So it was, even though and look, they even said, like, 1-800 Flowers. It's a stupid name. They're a $3.5 billion a year company. And I'm like, because I really wasn't that excited about the name One Tom Plumber when I first heard it,
Uh,
and because it seemed like a stupid name. And now we're gonna, we're on pace to do $70 million in 4.5 years. So it's,
aren't you glad you listened to the branding guys? The branding guys actually knew what they were talking about.
and exactly what they were talking about. And, so the brand is, when people see it, they love the brand, they love the look, they love, but they take pause at the name. And once we explain it, everybody has that. You can even see the customers. They have that aha moment. And it just works. It gives you a conversation. It gives you an icebreaker to talk about that. You walk in with a pink plunger in your hand, to property managers, to our customers, our residential customers, our plumbers don't walk up to the door without a pink plunger in their hand. I mean, like I said, we're a sales organization. We're not, because we want that phone to keep ringing over and over again. So we call it womb to the tomb. From the time, from the womb, as soon as the phone rings,
Mhm.
till we thank them and then send them coupons in the mail, we're selling how great we are.
Well, let's talk about the idea of, because our audience is restoration company owners,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And these folks are always looking for an opportunity to grow their business, right? If they've got that growth mindset there, and some of them may have thought about, because I've got them, I've got clients that added plumbing as a service strictly to make the phone ring to get them more restoration opportunities. But we're traditionally talking more residential restoration opportunities. Tell me a little bit about the restoration company that's listening to this right now. Who would be a great fit to add one Tom Plumber, to the mix there?
It's simple. Who is signing up with us are people who want to move into the commercial space,
'Kay,
and be way less dependent on TPAs.
'kay.
Uh, about, I would say half our people, maybe more, have gotten out of the reconstruction piece once they've moved forward with the One Tom Plumber brand, um, because they don't need it anymore to keep their customers happy because they're catching it on the front end. Because a lot of times, just like me when I was doing it, 3 million of it was, large loss rebuild. It was the every headache I had. It was, the least profitable. It was, probably the biggest piece of the business, and we completely eliminated that, when we went to the one Tom Plumber model. So I would say about half our people, use it to be less dependent on TPAs. Just to reiterate, um, by far going to the commercial space. Like I said, we were not commercial at all, and within 3.5, 4 years, we were 80% commercial. So it takes some time, to transition over. Now we do it, in a third of that time, because we were learning as we go. And two, to be, to where you can do the more profitable stuff and you don't have to be so dependent on the big jobs like the large loss rebuild. Uh, you know,
I agree with you 100% because my most profitable clients, are
Mhm.
mitigation only, right? They're making 60, 70% margins on that mitigation, and I don't care how good you are from a GC standpoint on the rebuild side, you're lucky if you're walking out of there with 35% margin, right?
Yeah, and my overhead was 35%. I was at about 42%, but I was 35 to or 38% overhead, so I was making maybe 5% at best.
And let's be honest.
Hey, now there's a lot of I do have some, restoration folks that, are 50% or better, and good for them, and they love it, and they're good at it, but most people like me, uh, don't want the headache for that kind of month, okay? And if you don't, the great thing too, sidetracking a little bit, but this is super important. Unless it's about $100,000 loss or more on a commercial side, you're not talking to the insurance companies. Most of our losses, 80% of our losses, and maybe 10% of the 80%, we had an insurance company involved. So we were rarely talking to the insurance company on the commercial side. I mean, we're always doing it on the residential side, but you just learn how to navigate that. But when it's only 20% of your business, you just don't care as much. And the insurance companies can't hold you hostage as much, and they can't, twist your arm up your back as much, And that was the great thing for us, is that, only 20% of our business, and the insurance companies are trying to do this, and we just wouldn't let them get away with it because we just didn't care. We didn't have to have that money because we were getting paid right away through the commercial, accounts. And I think that's monumentally game changing, because the insurance companies are just taking the fun out of restoration. Yeah.
It's not getting any better.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
all right, so let's if you're listening to this and your intent is to grow the commercial side of your
mhm,
restoration business, this is a great opportunity for you. With that being said, there's a caveat though. You've got to have some stuff in place in terms of
okay,
revenue, infrastructure, market size in order for this to be successful. So let's talk about that, right?
bring it.
Let's talk about revenue, right? If
Yep.
a restoration company's been in business for a few years, what's that minimum revenue that they would need for you to say, "Hey, you're probably a good candidate for this," or you probably aren't at a place where you
It's
should.
a great question, and a lot of it depends on market size. We had Pace in Arizona. I mean, they have 60,000 people. Okay, he was doing about a $500,000 in water. That's plenty. But someone in like Houston, they have to be doing at least 2 million in water, or literally will grow them out of business. If they're not, if they don't have the capacity to get out there and do big water jobs in a place like Houston or Atlanta or Chicago or even Kansas City, and the Kansas City market, they need to be doing about 1 million because they got to have the equipment, they got to have the know-how, they got to have the talent, or we won't bring them on board because we would literally grow them out of business.
Let's talk about the vetting and kind of interview process that you do with a potential franchisee. So if I own a restoration company, I live in Northern California. Let's say I'm doing $2-3 million a year in the East Bay area, and I come to you. What questions do you have for me to vet me to make sure I'm a good fit to be part of the
Really,
compliment brand?
we're looking for four things. First and foremost is fit. We're trying to build a brotherhood across the country of restoration owners, good networkers. We've turned down at least 30, three 30 plus $1 million companies because they just weren't a good fit for who we want to be as a brand and good networkers and a brotherhood. Okay. So that's the fit is number one. Okay. Because we want you to be our teammate. Just because you have $50,000 and you can buy a franchise. I'm sorry, threw that out there, but that's truth doesn't mean that you own us. But at the same time, just because we have a system and a franchise, because we don't own you. We want people that are going to be teammates and think of themselves that way and look at us that way. Secondly, they have to be doing a certain amount of water damage. Okay. We just can't do startups because it take too long to get them going. Three, they have to be financially savvy. They have to, they don't have to be Warren Buffett, but they have to be running a good, profitable business. Okay. And four, we're going to vet how they treat their employees. We literally call the local supplier and we tell them that. And to find out how they treat the employees, we're going to look at the reviews. And we're going to talk to other people that know them, the Chuck DeWalt's of the world, the people that we know at REITs. We'll call them and say, "Hey, do you know these guys? Okay. And how do they treat their people?" And the reason we do that is because how they treat their employees and how they treat their teammates are how they're going to treat us. And if they're going to treat them good and they take care of their employees and they value their employees, they're going to feel the same about us. And really, those are the four. I mean, it's just that simple. We don't overthink it, but at the same time, we have a 42% turn down rate because 4 out of every 10 don't make those cuts.
Okay. Well, it's good that you have those standards, right? I think from a brand standpoint, it'll definitely serve you well in the long run. You mentioned $50,000 in terms of
Yes.
that initial franchise fee. That is only a drop in the bucket in terms of what the actual investment is going to be to add plumbing as an additional service. So, talk a little bit about what those expenses look like.
That's a really good one. The good and the bad with it is that we want you to be at 4 trucks, but in 6 months. Okay. And a truck is about an $80,000 expense in the sense that the truck, the logo, the shelving, and the stock. Okay. Plus, you're going to need an office. Plus, you're going to need a dispatcher and so on and so forth. So you're looking at about a $500,000 spend, but really you're looking at about 150,000 in cash, whether it's a line of credit or it's in your bank. And then the rest is all easy to finance. Trucks are the easiest thing in the world to finance. And we've got it set up to where you can finance the stock, the shelves, everything that I mentioned
Okay.
all in one loop. So yeah, it's a little bit pricey, but at the same time, it's an easy thing to do.
How You've been doing this for a few years, right? How
Well,
long is it usually before a franchisee really sees the other end of that investment and starts, cash flow positive?
it's a great question about I don't know the exact number, but if anybody's interested, we give them an entire list of every franchise we have, and they can call them directly.
Love.
But I would say that most of our franchises get in the black sometime between 10 to 16 months.
Okay. It's not bad. Not bad at all. I know some guys at Serve Pro and Service Master that invested in those franchises that start in the black. So, all right, let's go to the next part, which is obviously somebody invests in the franchise, they invest in the equipment, they've got the manpower, they go out and make the necessary hires in terms of plumbers and dispatchers and whatnot. Next thing's the training, right?
It
Because even if you've got everything sitting there, if you can't actually implement the same system that you have repeatedly implemented for your franchisees, it's useless, right? To talk a little bit about the training you provide to these franchisees.
Well, it's whenever they sign, they come here for a week, owners, everybody. And then there's another week where they go out, we call them train the trainers. They go out to one of our actual franchises and work there for a week and they get trained. And then we talk to them twice daily for several weeks, and then it goes down to once daily, and there's no time frame. It's whenever they're ready.
Okay.
It's I don't believe there's ever a time where we don't talk to them at least every other week, and we have what we call the coaches. The other thing is about 2 weeks after you get up and going and the chaos ensues, we actually send one of our key people out, and they come to your facility and stay with you until you feel comfortable. Usually it's 2, 3 days, but we've stayed upwards of 2 weeks before.
Now, their sales reps really are are going to make or break the success of that franchise. So, what specific sales training do you guys provide that those folks?
That's actually where we go the hardest. We actually bring them in. There's about a half a day of classroom work because we want them to understand what One Tom Plumber is, the brand, how do we get here, what they're representing, and how to sell it. And then we put them for 3 days in three different sales vehicles because we want them to take their personality, but take the best of what they learned from each person that they ride with,
Yep.
um, and apply it to them. And then so they will literally go out and hunt for 3 days with three different people with three different styles. Now, keep in mind, two of our people that they're going to ride with are $3 million a year plus producers. And then one of them is he's closing in. He's in his second year and he's closing in on 2 million as far as producing. So it's a rare day you find a producer that's doing 3 million, much less two in the same shop. So it's a system that works, and that's who they're going to be learning from. And then about 10 times a year, somebody wants us to come because they hired a new one, and we'll literally ship one of them out to them and ride with them and teach them how to hunt in their own market.
Love it. So, you're not just training the franchisee, you're training their sales rep to be
Oh yeah.
effective in the role.
Yeah, we bring the dispatcher in-house. We put them behind a desk, have them answer the phone right here because like I said, we've got an operation here in Cincinnati that's it's on pace to do 12, 13 million this year.
Wow.
And so they'll be sitting behind a desk, answering the phone, learning how to do it in a very high-paced environment.
I like the level of support and ongoing support that you're providing your franchisees. It sounds like you're very not just from a franchisor collecting what is it royalties. You're
Yeah.
literally invested in their ability to be successful.
Well, our fortunes are tied in together. I know everybody's like, "Oh, royalty." Well, if you're not doing well, you're not collecting money, and we don't get to collect royalties. So the better you do, the better we do, and we take that serious.
My guess is $50,000 initial investment. You guys are probably upside down on that money until they actually start making money on the plumbing side.
Yeah. Yeah, because we get them up and going, and they have to have a certain look, kinda like a McDonald's. Our one-time plumbers, it's not just, the lady with the dog or the metal desk, you know what I'm saying? When they come here and see, it looks like a franchise. It looks like it's the reason is because we want them to have a place when talent walks in the door, it's easy to recruit them. And that because when they walk in the door, if they don't have a wow factor, how hard is it to recruit them? If they do have a wow factor, how easy is it to recruit them?
That is one of the biggest complaints I hear from restoration companies nowadays is how hard it is to go out and hire and find good technicians or whatever role that they're staffing for. And I do see, especially with these younger folks entering the workforce. Now I'm a little older, but these younger folks entering the workforce, I think having that branding, having that culture that you guys are going to help create in that business is going to be absolutely crucial for them. All right, so let's talk about some fun stuff here. Okay. So we've talked about who would be a good fit for you, but you guys have been signing up franchises for the last few years. Give me one or two like just rock star success stories of restoration companies that have adopted this model, plugged in one Tom Plumber, and are seeing the commercial fruits of their labor.
Well, I can the very first one we signed, I guess this is a good hammer close. They're on their fourth one Tom location, brick and mortar.
Wow.
They, yeah, in 4.5 years. They started in Greenville, South Carolina, and then they went all the way 3.5 hours away to the coast. Um, what's the city on the coast of South Carolina? Charleston.
Charleston, yeah.
Thank you. And then they moved to Columbia, which is right in the middle. And now, about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, they opened up Asheville, North Carolina. And now they bought two more franchises. So they're going to be at six units, brick and mortar, um, within the next 2 years. Um, Now, Washington State is a great example too. They were actually a restoration company that had started a plumbing company. We have four of those, by the way.
Okay.
We're transitioned current. They had existing plumbing companies, and they just couldn't get the system. They couldn't get the model. The phone. It wasn't going where they wanted it to because they basically became a traditional plumbing company. Okay, and now they're on their third brick and mortar location.
So it sounds like these guys are signing up, having great success, and they're not resting on their laurels. They're going out and setting up that next brick and mortar location.
We have at least 11 that have a second brick and mortar location. In fact, the only one that we did it backwards. Okay. And this is a kind of a funny story. Okay. Coral Martin and Kevin Kittle worked for Coastal Restoration, which is about a $50 million company. They were executives for them. They loved this was early on. They loved the one Tom Plummer model. They brought us into the owners and, thought it went well. She called back later and said they were laughing at the business model, and it was very hurtful. And I kind of took it personal, and she was crying on the phone. She's like, "I loved it. I thought this was a gift I was bringing to them." She goes, "If I had the money, I would do it myself." I said, "Coral, the money's easy. I can help you find the money. Okay, it's the will." So they literally resigned from that restoration company,
Mhm.
started a one-time plumber, and then opened the restoration piece.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the only one I did backwards, but they're now opening their second location in Daytona, I believe within the month. Yeah,
Would you encourage that path for anybody listening? Because don't get me wrong, we got some folks that listen that are entrepreneurs. They haven't actually pulled the trigger on setting up their own restoration business. Would you ever encourage somebody to go through that path, and would you guys be open to another?
I would be open to it, but they would have to have the will. I helped her because I was pissed at the other Trump thing. I took it personal because you were shitting on my business model, you know? So I wanted to show them, but they were in the right setting. Absolutely. I'll talk to anybody, you got to, outside the box. That's what stuff done. Sure. Absolutely.
Well, I am super excited of what you guys are doing over there. I am looking forward to meeting you and a lot of your franchisees in an event that you guys are hosting in October.
Mhm.
Let's tell the audience how they can, if they're interested in finding out more about adding a one Tom Plumber franchise to their restoration business, who should they reach out to?
Well, just go to onetom.com, um, and or onetomplumber.com, and then there's a big restoration button. That's the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
Call 1-866 plumber,
Okay.
and one Tom Plumber. The name is the phone number, and there's a button if you're interested in a franchise, go there or email me directly. It's really easy. It's Rocky, like the movie. Every time I say that, he's way richer and better looking, but we sure to keep name. Okay, at onetom.com. Send me an email, and will love to talk to you and coordinate. And here's the thing: even if you're not interested in one time, I love the restoration business. I absolutely, it just suits my personality. I'll just get on the phone with you and we'll talk restoration. It doesn't have to be about the franchise. I'll talk restoration with you all day or hunting, either one. Yeah. Yeah. So send me an email, rocky@onetom.com.
All right. Well, we're not going to send you a bunch of folks that want to find, unless they're talking about hunting commercial opportunities for their restoration business. Okay. For the audience, we're going to put the links in the show notes or in the YouTube description so that it's really easy for you guys to reach out to Rocky and the team over at One Tom Plumber. Rocky, I'm really excited about what you guys are doing. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and meeting a bunch of your franchisees to find out about the success they're having. More importantly, I'm looking forward to introducing some of our awesome restoration companies to you guys to see if there's a good fit there. Um,
Thank
Again, it's been my pleasure to have you on here. For the audience that have stuck around, thank you again for tuning into the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard today, make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys make sure you guys find us on social media. And if you're so willing, please leave us one of those 5-star reviews there. Rocky Hensley, One Tom Plumber, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Any parting words you want to say to our audience here?
Yeah, just go get them, man. You gotta go after water damage like you want to breathe.
And if you want commercial water damage, One Tom Plumber is a great solution. So, Rocky, thank you again for being a guest here on the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. And to the audience, as I always say, I hope you guys stay busy, stay dry, stay safe out there. Thanks, Rocky.
Thanks, Clement.
Thank you for listening to the Restoration Pros Unplugged podcast. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe, share, and also leave us a 5-star review. We'll be back with more interviews and discussions with restoration industry leaders really soon. In the meantime, if you're a restoration company looking to add more high-value water jobs, you can reach me and my team at waterrestorationmarketing.net. Again, that's waterrestorationmarketing.net. I look forward to hearing from you soon.